And we're up. Good evening, everybody. It's a special sneaked in edition of this podcast with Betty, because you're coming to play with me, as I call it, in 2 weeks, Betty. And I was like, oh, I've got this idea. Let's do a podcast so that people can get to know you, and then they can come along and we can get even deeper on the day. So welcome. Thank you for fitting this in on a Sunday evening. Hello to anybody listening, recorded or not. And if you are listening and recorded and the event has passed, stay with us, because there's going to be a lot of value. We're only going to do an hour for those of you that are used to 3-hour-long podcasts from me, because it is evening time. And we both, at the same time, I think, went, ooh, 3 hours starting at 7 o'clock. That's not going to work. So welcome, Betty, and thanks for joining. And thanks for
it's such a pleasure to be here with you. And yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm not gonna be able to dilly-dally as much as I normally do with a 3-hour. So I think I'm gonna say to people, if they really want to know your story, they can probably stalk you online, and all the links will be here, there, and everywhere. And what I'd really like to do this evening is talk about why doing the work, as I call it, is so freaking important. And I'm coming in off doing a 3-day retreat last week with breath coaches and somatic stuff and healing and all of that. And then I'm with you talking about why it's good to heal your past. So do you want to say from your, I've probably said it on podcasts before, I bang on about it all the time. I'm like, if you haven't dealt with your childhood, you're going to get stuck now. There's stuff that all of us have. I think the other thing to say is anyone who's like, no, I'm fine. It's like, if your life's got bits that's sticking or not working, or you haven't got what you wanted, there's possibly something to deal with. And you don't have to have, been bashed about and had a real horrific childhood. I think that's the thing to really say right at the get-go, is that this podcast and the work is for everybody. I don't think there's many of us that come unscathed. There's something that will have happened that will have made something mean that has us stuck as adults. So wherever you're at, whether you have been through what would be classed as major, trauma that we could all just go, fuck, that was a lot. Or you kind of think, well, no, everything was kind of pretty cool. Bear with us and listen up. And the other thing I will say before I shut up and hand over to you, Betty, to talk into this subject, is that if anyone's listening to this and you do get stuck, or you get upset, or this triggers something, or you're reminded of something, Betty and I are humans, and we're in Wales, and we love helping people. So please don't stay stuck or upset or triggered. I feel like we're both super approachable to the world, and people can get in touch through our various websites. People can join my community. People can message you on all of the usual social media. So if you are listening to this, please, please, please reach out. If we want to move you on, and sometimes getting triggered is moving on. Don't stay triggered. Keep moving and reach out for help. Betty, what do you say about all of that? What do you say about the work? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, so a lot of people when they come to me, and I ask in the initial chat, I say, well, how was your childhood? And they're like, yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
And so I think that obviously then we dig a bit deeper, and the work that I do, I should probably tell you what I do.
Go for it.
so that this has a bit of background and context.
Sure.
So I work with entrepreneurs and business owners and who just, and I've been looking for a more specific way of saying this, but I keep coming back to just feel stuck. And what you're saying about why is it important to do the work? Well, it's only important to do the work if there's a problem, right? If you're really happy and life is going really well and your relationships are great and you're not shouting too much at your kids and your business is going all right and everything's positive, then maybe you don't need to do the work. Maybe you're one of the very few people who's genuinely okay. And I definitely don't want to come across as saying like everybody needs to invest loads of money in therapy, because I don't think that is true. I think there are some lucky people out there who are genuinely okay. Yeah, and the thing about the okay, so here's what I do. So I work with entrepreneurs and business owners who feel stuck, who've got probably usually quite a clear vision by this stage of what they're trying to achieve. And I know that you will work with people on this as well. So they know what they want. They know they want financial freedom. They know they've got the picture of the lifestyle. Usually it involves cutting, a bit of land and, creating some kind of community and like just creating something of meaning and value in the world. And a lot of times that feels fine in the moment of vision boarding, and you're in a workshop and you just go, oh yeah, look, this will be great. Yeah, what else? And you kind of write your shopping list to the universe. And then you come away, usually, right? And you look at it and you go, what the bleep? How am I, and then all the little voices come in saying, who are you to want that? Or you don't deserve that. You never, you can't do that kind of thing, right? So
it might be a person as well, right? It might be that like people show what their dreams are to a loved one and then get crushed in that moment. So even if they're believing it, it's another human that can't believe it. And then and it's heartbreaking to see that happen, of like the inflation and the excitement and the expansion, and then just one person asking one question or kind of making a comment like, don't think that's really possible. And it's like
the way they look at you. Yeah, totally. It's really hard, and this is why community is important. This is why having a community of people who are also in that real growth mindset, that is so valuable, right? I mean, you know that, and all your people know that, like that having people that are just there going, yeah, okay, and then what else? Yeah, okay, great, what else? So that's really, really important. But the thing you mentioned about, this isn't about people who've had huge trauma in childhood. And I really want to say that actually that is really true. That I got this from a woman, amazing fan, via Tad Hargrave, a lady called Kalita, the showgirl shaman. So she talks about the two types of trauma being boom, boom trauma and drip, drip trauma. So it's good, isn't it? You can feel you just
chronic.
So the kinds of, so obviously you get the sense of boom, boom trauma is like a car crash or something that happened on a day and your life was changed. Drip, drip trauma is maybe the thing that you spent your whole life waiting to hear but never heard. Just feeling I'm not worthy, I'm not valued, I'm not lovable, I'm not enough. And these are the things that come up time and time again in the work that I do. I still haven't told you exactly what it is that I do, so I'm going to circle back to that. So yes. Okay, I'll come back to that now, actually. So I work with these people who've got this big vision, and they know how. They know the how. This is important, right? They've been doing it long enough. They've been in their business long enough to know what they need to do, and they just aren't doing it. So like, this is the kind of classic ideal person that comes to me, and it's like, I know what I need to do, and I just feel like I've got the word implementation block, like an inability to take the blooming action that you need to take. And it's like, you just can't do it, and you don't know why, and you probably are giving yourself a very hard time about that. I know that because I've been there. I've really been there so many times. And you're probably giving yourself a hard time. Thinking, just feeling like there's something wrong with you. Like, well, why? You're looking around, other people are doing the things, like whether it's like regularly showing up.
I've got to add in there, they're allegedly doing the things. Because I think the other, we'll look at each other going, oh, but they've got their shit together. It's just me. Like, folks, it's all of us, right? It's like that comparing and other people looking like they're getting the success is just deadly.
Yeah. People are generally, I think, probably not as successful as we think they are, right? Like that social media kind of polished product that you're looking at, or if they are, they've got a team helping them usually, like there's probably more than one person holding it all together. But where was I? Yeah, so that kind of, well, what I've come to see, it's like when you I feel like people know when they're blocked in this way, because I've been doing all the niching exercises, trying to really like drill it down, how we do, trying to get who is the ideal client, right? And I just think that we know when we're blocked. It, like the person who is like so frustrated and annoyed with themselves probably and feeling like it's all their fault, and procrastinating and just doing anything but the one thing, right, that we know is gonna actually move the needle, make the difference. So and what I do with them is I use a type of hypnotherapy called RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, which was created by Marissa Peer, if anybody's heard of her. And it's a flipping really powerful way of establishing what the root cause is. Like, why are you stuck? Why have you got a block about money? Why do you feel like you can't be successful? And so what we do is in hypnosis, your conscious mind is just chilling out. Like you just tap right into the subconscious mind. So which is the ideas and beliefs that are below the surface, like an iceberg. The top of the iceberg, the 10% or something, is the conscious mind that we're aware of, and then the big massive part that's below the water is the subconscious mind, and that's where all the beliefs live that we're not aware we hold. And so hypnosis is amazing. There are other ways of accessing the subconscious, like tapping and EMDR, all sorts of things. Hypnosis is flipping great for just getting to the root cause. And I just think like what happens is when you switch off that kind of monkey mind that's just like rabbiting on the whole time, you can just see, and you can just, the amazing thing is you can ask your body what is going on and why it's stuck, and you can actually have a conversation with the blockage itself when you're in hypnosis. And things, when you do that, and it's not hard, it's very straightforward. When you have a conversation, you find out like, oh, I've got a blockage around this, and it's from like, perhaps you're scared of being visible, and then somebody might look back, and a classic thing is they realize in hypnosis that the root cause of them having this fear about being visible in their business is from a time when they stood up in front of class at school and everyone humiliated them. Well, then it's obvious, isn't it? You get a fear of I'm just going to turn that. I don't know if you heard that notification. Sorry. So, and again with money blocks, people go back to the root cause, and it's often like well, in my own personal story, I got this big story about like I'm not worthy of good things, and like the root cause I found in hypnosis so fascinating. I went back to we didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, and my birthday is 2 days after Christmas. Can you imagine? Like for a family, ouch. For a family,
double bubble presents. You're out there. You've given someone a birthday and Christmas present at the same time.
But do you remember Buffalo trainers, Alex?
No.
Remember Buffaloes? Those like Spice Girls, kind of like the platform trainers. Anyway, I wanted the purple ones of them. I was probably like in my, I don't know what age I was, but anyway, I wanted them, and they were too expensive. So my mum bought me one for my birthday present and the other shoe for Christmas, right? So this classic kind of thing that what you do is you go back to a certain moment from childhood, easy in hypnosis, you see the point at which a belief like was planted, a little seed was planted. And the seed was, oh, I'm not worthy of good things. I don't deserve to have what I want. And then that little bit of seed that gets planted in that moment, we're always then looking for evidence that belief is true. So then I go into the next part of my life looking, oh yeah, where's the evidence for that? And then I pour water onto that seed and it starts to grow, right? And it starts to grow into this massive, enormous tree. But it's all actually not visible. I had no idea that I had this belief until I looked. I thought I was fine. And until I actually looked back in hypnotherapy when I was doing my training, suddenly saw this enormous blockage. Yeah. Anyway, I'll pause there. I don't know if you.
No, I think it's great. I think it's really useful for one of my passions is getting the everyday human to understand how normal stuff not working is. Because I think we go through life thinking we should know how to cook, know how to raise kids, know how to do money. It's never taught in school. And also then on top of that, we should know how to do it, but we won't have some kind of block around it, like how we were brought up or how money was done in our household or all of that. I think the thing to underline of what you said is that as an adult, we understand the parents who did one trainer for Christmas, one trainer for birthday. As you said it, I was like, what a fucking genius idea. That's brilliant, right? But as a child, whatever that, that like meaning at that moment is devastating, but not even realized. And it's these micro things. It doesn't have to be, it just underlines that. It doesn't have to be a big trauma. And I think the thing that I keep saying to people is that it doesn't have to be big, and it doesn't have to not make sense, because as adults we get it. We understand that our parents, we can look back and it all makes sense. Like, well, why was that child? But as a child, you don't have the comprehension that adults have. So looking back as an adult at the thing that happened to us as children, just without a therapist or without a coach or without that kind of insight, we just go, oh, it can't be that. That's stupid. Oh, that's not really a big deal. Oh, it can't have been that. And I'm a gardener and I plant tiny seeds in the garden. And 2 years ago, I grew some lupins. And lupins are enormous perennial flowers. And they started with these tiny little seeds. Yeah. And then the first year I planted in the garden, I was like, oh, they're a bit small and maybe they're going to die off. This spring, they were like, wow, huge. Yeah. And now you've got to remember that I've spoken a lot this last weekend at the retreat. Humans, we're funny things. We think we go into nature, but we are nature. Mm-hmm. We do what nature does because we are it. Mm. When seeds do that's how systems work. Yeah. And it's just so massive for people to understand that it's okay and it's normal and it's just the way it is. I have clients with the equal and opposite idea of they are ashamed of how much money their family had when they were growing up because they were the richest kid. Yeah. It's just for anyone listening who's like, oh, my parents were loaded. It's like, yep. And I've got clients who are really struggling with that because they're ashamed of how much money they have. They feel bad because they're so wealthy. Well, it really is. It's not, oh, this is trauma that's valid and this is not okay. It's like, whatever happened that feels a bit bad, it's probably worth looking at.
Yeah. Right. And that makes it so annoying as a parent, right? When I realized, oh my God, it doesn't even need to be boom, boom trauma, It can just be the thing that you don't say. And
you don't even realize at the time was a thing.
Yeah. So just like I love what you're saying about the garden, and also, you know, how have you got any really persistent weeds that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do
Shit
you know what I mean?
weeds.
Like, so in our veg bed, we've got
Pulling
these.
them out next year, they're back.
Yeah, I mean, we've got this. What's it called? Like a tangleweed, something that like wraps around all the other ones and just
Yeah.
bindweed. Is it something like
Bindweed.
that? I'm no
Yeah.
gardener. I
Yeah.
wish I was, but you know, and I think that those negative beliefs, right? Like, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, I don't belong, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, that they are they're stronger because we have, as human beings, have this negativity bias. We're always like, no, right, think how many times, if you get 10, even if you get 100 good reviews
Oh,
and you get one bad one, right? How do you feel?
Oh,
You're not there thinking,
devastating.
exactly.
Devastating. Yeah.
So that this is how we are. So think about all the times that you were told how much people love you.
Amazing we are, and how loved we are, and all of that. I've never thought about it like that in terms of childhood. That's
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah.
you get told once, like in a cross moment,
Yeah.
your parents just say, "Oh, like, do you ever shut up?" or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and suddenly, oh, hang on, I'm not allowed. I don't deserve to speak,
Yeah.
or something. You know, and that just can be such a, like, it almost slips in unnoticed, like it just gets through the amazing garden, that all these beautiful things that your parents carefully planted in you, all these things, the nurturing things, right? And whoops, they let in one, or it wasn't even them. It was like it could have come from anywhere in the environment. It could have just blown in, to keep the analogy going. You know, a bird could have dropped one. I was going to swear then, but I caught myself. A bird could have dropped one into your garden, and you know, suddenly, if the soil's right, if your conditions are right for it, you can get that kind of bindweed that goes around all the good things and just strangles them. You know, so it's like really, really interesting. And then again, so there's that analogy continues. You've got to, like, if you want to clear the weed, you can keep pulling, you can keep cutting it off, but that's never going to work, is it? You know, you've got to dig down and you've got to get to the root.
Everything. Yeah.
And it was like, I had like a coaching session with Tad Hargrave, right? And I was asking him for, like, he's so good with story. And I was telling him about what I do, and kind of just, he was helping me to clarify my point of view. And he came up with the fact, you know, because I was saying, like, it doesn't need to be difficult to heal this stuff. It doesn't need to take a long time. You just need to get to the root cause. And as soon as you've got that root and you pull it out, like, the garden will just bloom, right? And it's amazing that process, honestly, I've seen this so many times now, Alex, like, I can totally say this for the right person who vibes with me and we've got a good connection, like 3 months together, and like they are pretty good in like almost all departments, because we've just gone in and we've looked for the weeds and we just pull them out at the root. So he gave me this metaphor when we were doing a coaching call. He said, like, the story of the, I think it's an Aesop's fable about the lion who gets a thorn in its paw. And just like that got me thinking about, you know, if you're walking, imagine walking as a lion, you've got a thorn in your paw, you don't know it's there, but it kind of knocks your stride off. You know, you're kind of, all the other lions are running and they look like they're fine. Yeah, they're like going, and you're trying to keep up and you just can't keep up. But you don't know that when you're a child, you like, or when you were younger, you got this thorn in and it's just not visible, it's just below the surface. But as soon as you're able to just get that thorn out, like, it doesn't take long. You just have to you have to know, you have to talk to someone who says, hey, do you think there could be a thorn in your paw? And then, like, oh, it looks like from the way you're walking, maybe it's about here. Let's have a look. pull it out, is gone.
Brilliant.
And your body just heals. And this is how it is. Like people, I recently had a woman who had serious anxiety. This isn't my real speciality, and I didn't really want to take her on but she was somebody I knew. And I was a bit nervous, to be honest, because anxiety is not something I've ever lived with. So I didn't feel like I was the best person. But I said, look, I'm willing. I know the method works for anxiety, but I've never, it's not something I do regularly. We got rid of her anxiety in 1 month. She went 1 month. This is debilitating anxiety that was stopping her from doing basically doing
living.
Anything. She was paralyzed, just by thinking everything over, so stuck. The cogs are just turning all the time. And we got to the root cause of where that came from. And it was all to do with moving house when she was a child and being a new one in the playground, something like that. And as soon as we could see that, it's we can just, this is the thing, as soon as you see it, you don't have, the healing is done.
Yeah.
That's enough. You just have to bring it out of that bottom bit of the iceberg, into the top bit, that 10% that's conscious. As soon as it becomes conscious, it's it can liberate itself.
Yeah.
As long as it's hiding in your subconscious, you will keep stepping on that blooming thorn. It's like something about you really wants to just push on it and feel it, It's we've got this addictive thing of I'm just going to do that again. Or with money, if you know that you're a person who overspends and you just do it again and you do it again, and it's you just keep going through that same pattern until you just look at it and figure it out and pull out you get to the root cause or pull out the thorn, and suddenly, the relief.
The relief is it's body stuff, right? As well, because the stress is embodied in our physicality. So for anyone who hasn't done any of this work, there are probably also physical symptoms that you don't even realize you have. But when that thing is gone, it's suddenly I can breathe better, or I can stand up straighter, or in my case, my back stops hurting, or my hips stop. I mean, I went into the retreat I've just done, not doing hypnotherapy, but I mean, it was, all these different modalities for different things. And I went in with fairly excruciating lower back and hip pain. Did a lot of breath work and a lot of releasing, and I was done with it. I was like, this has got to go. Yeah. And it's gone.
And that's important. Just to chip in, can I just chip in to that? It's so important, that bit of being that ready. It's not going to work until you're at the point of no return. Got to be done. Because that's the one thing, and I want to hear the rest of your story, but I just want to say that is the one thing that is going to make the difference. The people who come to me and they're not ready, and I'm kind of talking them into it a little bit, it's not going to work. I've realized that now, so I don't bother with them. Like I say, come back when you're ready,
Yeah.
Anyway, so tell me more about your...
No, it was just to really underline to people that often these things, so there's a couple of things to underline so people really get how powerful this work is. It's not just it doesn't just solve your money situation or your anxiety or whatever the thing is that people come to you specifically for. And I think, so there's a few things. One is, the reason I love talking to people like you and why we're starting to do these expansion days together is because there's deeper work to do. And I almost feel like, the memes where you're if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. I'm like that sign. And then I'm and this person is good at this and this person's good at this. And it's I can't say to people enough, this is going to kind of loop into something you said earlier, you have to resonate with the healer or the coach or the practitioner or the therapist you're working with. So if you're listening to this, and you feel and it's a feeling of connection, that's the person for you. And the reason there are so many different modalities and coaches and therapists and people is because no one person can do it for everyone. And it's I can't underline. So being ready, being fed up with the thing, massive. Finding someone, and I can't say this enough to people, it doesn't matter whether you listen to this and you get a load of like, oh my God, okay, yes, I need to do something, but Betty doesn't sound quite right, or I don't sound quite right. It's like, keep freaking going until you find the person where it's a bit like intimate relationships when you know. It's a bit like that, I think. For me, anyway, it always has been. When I find a coach or a therapist I want to work with, I just know, and I can't always explain it. It just feels right. Trust that instinct and go with it.
Yeah.
Be ready, and also be open to, there's a whole load of stuff that's probably going to go that you didn't even realize was there until it's gone. Like coming back off this retreat, I went to deal with some hip and back pain, and now like my chest is off. I've stopped eating sugar, not because I'm going, I really shouldn't eat sugar. Someone offers me something with sugar, I just don't want it. Like, I can only dream of creating such a relationship with sugar. And I didn't, I don't eat a huge amount of sugar, and I would eat sugar. I'd eat a biscuit with a cup of tea. And I'm like, I just don't want it. And all of these like micro things that to me wasn't even really a problem, that were all these like bonuses of, oh, I just don't have to deal with that anymore. And I'm just eating when I'm hungry, not like pacifying some pain that I didn't even realize I was doing. And pain, I can pick Charlie up now, who's 6 this month. And it was getting to the point where my back was so bad I couldn't pick him up off the bed when he was asleep to move him if he'd fallen asleep in our bed. And now I'm like practically dancing through the hallway with him, bless him, when he's asleep. Oh my God, I can pick him up.
Like anger.
Yeah. And it's just like the amount, and it's different for everyone. And just to be really clear, anyone listening, I did a massive release last weekend at the Elements Retreat. It was beyond huge. I was beyond ready, and I've done a lot of work to do that. So, it's not always like fireworks, like, oh, and often it is. And then the final point I wanted to make, which I'm now going, oh, what was it? It was really important. It's just gone, and it will come back.
Yeah.
Stick with it. That was the other thing. Like, just stick with it and be dogged in going after it. Because I think as well, there's layers. That was it. So for me, there was a whole load of layering on top of the original thing that I dealt with last weekend. That was the shame about the thing, and the embarrassment about the thing, and the annoyance with my body for the pain, and the anger with my body for the pain, which was nothing to do with the original thing, but it was like stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked. And it's like, we don't, it's like the weeds and the bindweeds growing and growing and twisting again and then getting worse. And it's like, there's so much layering on some of this stuff when it's so old. I'm 44 this month, and I'm like I'm literally letting go of stuff. Yes, there was stuff to do with giving birth to Rupert. Well, he's 4 this month, so that's 4 years old. But there was stuff from when I was 14, that's like 3 decades ago. And then all of the doof, 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 doof on top.
Yeah.
So it's just, and I go, I've done so much work, I don't want to do any more. But it's like, well, why? Because I do get to, I don't know how you feel about it sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, really? Do I have to do anything else? It's like, yeah, do you know what? You might have done a lot of work. And if you still haven't quite got the result or got the feeling or got the relationship or got the whatever it is that you want, it's like, it's a bit more to do, and keep going.
Yeah. Well, I think this is why I really like this modality, because I feel like a lot of times we do healing work and it goes a few layers deep. But what happens with this that I hadn't known before is when you get the root, you can literally pull it all out. And that is flipping cool. And you can see it happen in the moment sometimes. So yeah, I totally I love all of that you're saying.
Yeah. Let's talk about our workshop day together, just so that people who are listening, who are coming, and if the workshop date's gone, I'm going to assert that by the time we've done the workshop date, we'll probably halfway through already be planning another one, because we just get on like that. What do I want to say about that? I think I'd like to allay people's fears. So anyone who hasn't done any of this work before, like, is okay. Because I come across a lot of people who go like, I don't want to take the lid off because I might not be able to put Jack back in the box.
No.
So I'd like people to understand that if you haven't worked with me or Betty, or you're not in my community, that the spaces that, well, I can speak into what I create, and I don't invite people into the space who do other. So, you know, I also is to say that you don't ever get more than you can handle. This was said to me last weekend. This last weekend had a massive impact. Can you tell? I was in a CAP session, and they said, you won't get more than you can handle. I thought that is so true of any modality. It's like you'll get as much as you're ready to deal with. And it might be big and it might be small, but it'll be okay. So I don't know what you want to say into that and what you want to say into the day about sort of what we're going to do so that people feel like, okay, I can do this. Because it is also, you know, it's a group of people, and it is in my home. If anyone was watching on the video, it's in this room here.
Amazing house.
And all of that. So it's very, and we have a silent room as well, which we're going to keep from the summit. The silent room was brilliant, and we're going to keep that. And there are always a couple of other people around to kind of take care of anyone who has been like, oh, load of stuff come up and it's a bit too much in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is repeating what we said earlier, which is if you're listening to this and your body's feeling relaxed, listen to that. That's a really good sign. Like if you feel good hearing me talk and hearing Alexlouise talk, just trust that. And if like it might feel edgy. I mean, in a moment I'll talk through the different things that I'm going to bring to the workshop, and it is a bit like taking Jack out of the I mean, I've never heard that expression, but like if that's something that your people may have said before, if you are someone who hasn't done any healing, then and you're stuck in your business, or you're stuck getting visible, or you're finding it hard to put your prices up, or you're always overgiving and you're resentful and you're burnt out.
Let's underline the overgiving.
Well, these are the symptoms. Okay. Here are the symptoms of low self-worth, which, you know, if somebody had said this, like, oh, Betty, you've got low self-worth, before I did this training, I would have just, I was quite a rebel, and I probably would have stuck my 2 fingers up at them and gone like, oh, go on, jog on. But here are some symptoms of low self-worth, right, that I wish that I'd known about. But like, if you find it, you might have some to chip in too. I'd be curious to hear. But like, okay, never making nice food for yourself. Always
my favorite one.
Always making food for your kids, your husband, your
anyone,
wider family, anyone. But you don't take the time to ask, okay, and this is connected to the next one, knowing what you want. Like a lot of times when we've like living in different trauma responses, such as freeze, when we're in a freeze state, we don't know what we want. So if you're a person who always kind of waits for someone else to take the initiative or like choose for you, or you never really know what you want, that could be a symptom of low self-worth.
That one is such a big one, including, I'll just add some things to that.
Yeah,
you don't know what your favorite colour is. You don't know what your favorite restaurant is. You don't know whether you want tea or coffee. When someone says, do you want tea or coffee? And you say things like, I don't know, what are you having?
Yes.
Like, that's just not, you don't know what your favourite smell is. You don't know what your favourite flower
that was
is.
Me.
What your favourite sport is. That was me. There's a reason I can reel them off.
Yeah.
That was literally me. You don't really know any, like, what holidays do you like?
Yeah.
And also, what don't you like? What do you
what
just like?
music do you like?
I like that. It's huge. It's so
because
big.
You don't know yourself, because possibly it's never been safe for you to be an individual. And so part of the work I do, a big part, is like wiring in a belief, along with all the other ones I've mentioned already, that it's safe for me to be me, that it's safe for me to be authentic, it's safe for me to be an individual. And a lot of times we get told, we just receive the message. You don't even need to be told it by your parents, but you receive the message from the world, from school. Like you're in a uniform. Yeah.
Created, right?
Yeah.
Unless you have this product, you're basically a nobody. I mean, it's just it's like the basis of unethical marketing, which is basically most marketing out there. If you haven't done Tad's course or Better, Bolder, Braver type marketing courses, it's basically, we're bombarded with it on a daily basis, right?
People don't know what they want. Okay, so that is one thing that will get fixed by doing work like this on raising your self-worth. What was I saying? Symptoms of low self-worth. Yeah, we got people pleasing, like to the nth degree. Just it's about external validation, isn't it? It's like seeking, if you're a person it's never been safe to be yourself, you've never been encouraged to have an opinion. Like as a child, did your parents say, I don't know, what do you think, Alex? Like, what? Like, I'd love to hear what you think about this.
May not, no.
No, do you know what I mean? Like, this is really unusual, and it doesn't happen in the mainstream school system, sadly. Like we learn. Oh, I thought I'd turn those notifications off. Sorry, did you hear that one again? We learn that that we get our authenticity like hammered out of us. It's like, no, we want you to conform. We don't want you to be an individual, because that's dangerous for the system. But anyway, there is a whole other conversation about that.
Well, I think and also it's not necessarily malicious. It's just like everyone's got to get on. Everyone, like, we've got to get to school, we've got to be in work, we've got to be here. You've all got to look the same in school. Everyone just needs to sit down and be quiet. It's not even any sort of major malicious intent, and it's survival. Everyone's just trying to survive. And then the unintended consequence is you leave school and you leave childhood, and everyone goes, be whoever you want, do whatever you want. It's like, you spent fucking 18 years telling me to sit still, be quiet, and do what you tell me. And now you're letting me loose on the world. Like, unaided. And again, there's usually not a lot of malicious intent. It's just
no, not at all. I really feel like
go to work and bring up their kids.
I really feel like, in particular, the people that tend to come to me are the people who haven't been exposed to real malicious stuff, like that. They've been just drip, like,
just toxic.
It's so
drips
hard.
of water can carve through stone, right?
Totally.
Like, it's so powerful.
But
powerful. Each drip is like, it's no big deal. It's no big deal.
And you just get used to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to bring to the workshop. And
I want to add in one thing, just for people listening, because I really want people to get all the nuances to this. So I used to have no problem in telling people what I wanted, except in my intimate relationship. And it really messed with my mind for a while, because I couldn't understand how I had my shit together everywhere else. And in my intimate relationship, just did all of the things that we've just listed. So the other thing is, people listening, you might have real great success in some areas, and then you might just have one area, like parenting or intimate relationship or friendships, or relationship with your boss, where it just doesn't work. And again, it's to do with the dynamic of what happened when you were younger. So it's like, me and my dad didn't get on so great. Love him to bits. Like, we get on now like we never have. And at the time, it was hard for all of us. And that translated into intimate relationships. For the rest of my world, I was kind of all right. It was pretty good. I got financially free by the age of 32. Fuck, people know my story. It was a fucking car crash. The rest of it, my intimate relationships just didn't work. And then when that didn't work, it's like everything else kind of fell apart. So I want people to be listening, to be. I love Charlie Davis talks about listen like a hunter, not like a mountain. And there's nothing wrong with listening like a mountain. It's brilliant, benevolent, just listening. And I want people who are listening to this to listen like a hunter. Look for the space where it doesn't work. It doesn't have to be across your whole life. And it may be that you have major financial success. You might have a brilliant relationship. That's all brilliant. And I'll say to clients, we're like, that's great. I want to know what's not working, because that's where the work is. So listening, it's like really look and go, where's the nuance? Where's the not working? Where's the triggering? Where's the upset? Where's the hurt? So,
yes, so interesting. And one thing I've realized recently is about like how I feel like I've become a bit of a bridge between two worlds, in that I have come from this really like hippie kind of shoestring traveler, like backpacker world, where in my 20s I did all sorts of wacky things. I don't know if I've told you about, like cycling to India. Yeah,
give us a little couple of minutes.
So like I cycled from Bristol to Morocco.
No way.
Yeah, in 2009, and it almost killed me. Like really almost killed me. And I had serious relationship issues, and I was going to mention that when you said the same thing. Like I was pretty good in life generally. I had money issues and dodgy relationships, but
you were going to say your bridge.
I was going to say the bridge. Oh, thank you for the reminder. Yeah, so I did a lot of traveling. I went to India, spent a long time there, and then I cycled from Bristol to India. Like I kind of went, oh, I've gone to Morocco. Like, oh, now I feel like I can do anything. I love India. Maybe we should try that. So we set off. I mean, we didn't cycle all the way. Some people like to really point that out. Like we threw the bikes into trucks and kind of overlanded it. But a lot of cycling, most of the way out of Europe was full cycling. And then we got to Iran and we ran out of time for our visa. So we had to like skip ahead. But yeah, loads of on a shoestring budget. So I never had any money, and I just used to get a waitressing job in Bristol where I lived. I'd work as long as I needed to work, then I'd quit, then I'd go traveling. Like I just did that so many times. And if someone criticized me, the boss criticized me, I'd just quit. Like I just didn't care. I was such a rebel. Yeah. I was like, I don't care about you. Do not get to speak. Don't treat me like that. I'm off. Or Glastonbury was on, and I was like, do you know what? I've got a free ticket to Glastonbury. See ya. That was my priority. And I realized recently, my website's called True Wealth with Betty, and I realized quite recently that there are money is not the only type of wealth, right?
Oh, I love you more. The more and more you it's just like, yeah, right?
Money's not the only, and when I was young, I never knew it then. I wish I'd known. I was wealthy because I was time wealthy. I was free. I was so free. I spent my 20s not caring about success, not even thinking about work. And a lot of people get hammered into a path of education, become a doctor, become a lawyer. I never had any pressure from my parents. They didn't care. Like they wanted me to I was touring in a rock band and traveling, I was having so much fun. So I was free, and I was utterly broke. But that wasn't a problem. That was just how it was, and it's not. And then I've recently, when we had children, we were expecting kids, and I'm like, I was working as a puppeteer in Barcelona, and I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant. Okay, we're gonna need to put down some roots now. Gonna need a mortgage, and I'm like, a mortgage? Jesus, that's very official. How on earth am I gonna do that? So I got another job waitressing, and we kind of scraped it together. And then I started reading all these books about money mindset, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker, you probably know it, and just the world opening up. Hang on a minute, do I get to time doesn't equal money? All of these big realizations dropping in. Anyway, where am I going with this? Saying bridge. Thanks. Yeah, I'm coming back to the bridge bit. So that's the world I come from. Festival, free, shoestring, like just hot on your sleeve. I don't know, just a very free and easy way of being. And then like the last, well, since having children, so like last 8 years, I've really suddenly gone, hang on a minute, all these other people, they're like working hard and building something, and you know, like, and I'd never done that, and like that was really new to me, this whole idea, like, oh, I can kind of choose what I want and work towards it. Cool. Like, okay, I think I can do that. So that was like what I'm calling success. So then suddenly I was like, oh, success, like, could I do that? And I'd had a lot of healing to do around that, because I definitely didn't see myself as a person who could even talk about success, you know. Now that is what I'm talking about. So the bridge being this like two worlds. So what I'm finding is that my story was very much about like that very free and easy hippie way of being, right? And those people who are really good at what they do, but they don't want to charge money for it. They don't, they just want to give, overgive, and they're broke. And then they have to get a job in a call center or something, you know, instead of doing the thing that is such a gift to the world.
Yeah.
So that's one arm of my business, is helping people like that to say, here's money and success, and it's not available. Like, we can make this start to, like, we can kind of build that bridge.
And it's not, it's about as well, like, I think some people think they have to sell their soul to make money.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So you can just have some fair exchange. Like, you can you can do what you love, and you can do the wild and free and all of that. And
you can totally do that these days. Yeah.
It's really, I haven't quite got this to articulate it completely, but the working kind of thing is that money is like the tiniest piece of success. Like, it really is like the tiniest piece, and yet it's kind of like the foundation, but building it as an underpinning. And because I think a lot of people, they go, I'll chase the money and I'll get that done first, and then I'll find out what I love doing. And it's like, oh fuck, that's a really long, hard, painful way to do it, because you've got to make yourself do a load of shit that you just don't want to do, and then you'll be happy afterwards. And it's like, if people can just do the two pieces together, where they get to do what they love, figure out what they want, be bold enough to, and you know,
find themselves,
self-worth, to go, this is who I am, and then add in the like financial bit of like, and just saying to people like, this is what I charge, would you like some? It's a really great sentence. It's like that bridge between the two worlds of like money and structure. And I mean, again, this retreat that I went on, it was in the woods, and I'm like, oh, we need 1 foot in the woods and 1 foot in the concrete in the city. And like, just living in the woods or just living in the concrete is so out of balance. So when you said that, like, I'm like a bridge between, it's like, that new, you know, if there was anything that we're going into now in 2024, it's like people understanding that they can do both. They don't have to be like irresponsible and not dealing with things and not having money, or they have to be doing a job they hate in the city. It's like, if you take a bit of each of those things and mold it all together and do the work underneath it that you do, it's just magic. Absolute magic. And it's like, for me, it's the new way that human beings, like, why have we got all these gadgets and all this AI and all this tech if we can't do that?
Right. Yeah.
It was like, if there was ever a time in history to do what you love and get paid, surely this is in the West. To caveat that, we realize we're like sat in the West and like
we're very privileged. Yes.
And we are here. So are we going to just like squander it because the rest of the world isn't? It's like, what a lottery we won when we got born in this part of the world with this wealth. And even if like anyone sat listening to this if you are sat listening to this podcast, even if you feel like you haven't got a pot to piss in, you are wealthy compared to so many more. So it's just like, it's worth taking all the opportunities, doing that piece that bridges it all together. Beautiful.
I love it. Yes. I'm so excited for our day together. We're going to have so much fun. But can I let me just say before I forget, because I'm so
go.
prone to forgetting. So the bridge between these two worlds, right, is this hippie world of freedom, this world of success and money. And what's so interesting, I mean, I don't know if you know much about the hero's journey. I actually haven't delved into that.
I haven't. People keep mentioning it to me, and they keep telling me to read the heroine's journey.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I haven't read.
I've heard that we've all, us women of like in our 40s, have all been on a hero's journey, got to a point and gone, oh fuck, this isn't my journey. There's another journey for me. So there's another book, The Heroine's Journey, is the one that's on my list to read.
Let me know how that goes. So the thing with, I got this from Jeffrey Van Dyke when he was a guest on my podcast. He's such a sweet man. I really love him. He was talking about the hero's journey in one of his emails. His emails are great, by the way. And he was saying, like, oh, what was it? He was saying, how was it? It was something about like the return leg of the hero's journey being that you end up serving the people who hurt you. Right? Yeah. So when I look at when I was young and that free and easy, I was like all the time giving a big F you to the system. You know, I was so angry. I was so angry that I didn't have and they had. And, you know, I was having a lot of fun. But, you know, if you talk to me back then, I was so angry about how unfair it all was, because I just saw myself as somebody who would never have. You know, so there's a story that I had to unpick. But what's really interesting is now it seems this, and hearing about the return, again, I haven't read the book. I think it's by Joseph Campbell, but I haven't actually read the book, but I keep hearing about the hero's journey. And this via Jeffrey Van Dyke, hearing about the return leg of the journey being the point at which you end up serving the people who hurt you, right? And suddenly I find that I am the perfect medicine, or the person who is most able to help the people who have spent their lives just in that success and money striving thing. Suddenly it's like, oh, this is so interesting. So that's so my group program that I offer, Ignite Your Power, is really accessible financially. It's really available for the people in the first camp who were like me, who were the people who've never really sought the money and the success. They just poured their hearts into doing what they love and helping people and making the world a better place. And probably having to work a crappy job alongside it to pay the bills. Yeah. So that's like, I love now that I've got the business model piece kind of in place, which is like I can serve those people, by creating a group program that brings the price down. And then I've got the one-to-one offering for the people who actually I'm so well placed to serve, because I can help. And also I've got this background. I'm a practicing Vajrayana Buddhist. So I've got a lot of meditation experience, and I've got the absolute, like, if anything valuable comes from me, is thanks to my teachers, you know, and if anything like unvaluable comes to me, that's my misunderstanding. It's completely my own. But you know, I have access to realized masters. You know, I've like been able to spend time learning from these incredible human beings. And so something about that maybe is placing me in a unique position. I feel really able to support people who I spent most of my life looking at thinking like, you know. Suddenly I'm like, oh yeah, do you know what? I know exactly what you need. And it's like, wow, full circle moment. Anyway, that was really, by the by, like kind of tangent. And I wanted to...
Well, I suspect very useful to people. So great.
Okay, good. I was going to talk about what I was going to do at the workshop. Do you want me to do that?
I do. I want one question first.
Yes,
if
please.
Anyone's listening to this and they're like, is it online? Is it live? Just to answer that, because we're on the internet, which is like goes far and wide. So are you in person? Is it online? Do you do either? Just so that anyone listening who's going,
just my work or for our workshop?
Your work. Well, the workshop's in South Wales, so like you have to be in person for that. In fact, I've decided I didn't have anyone online, and I ended my leadership mastermind program last Wednesday. I was like, do you know what? I hate having people online at my workshops. I'm not doing it. Show up. You can't come.
Yeah.
And then I have, there's online calls. So I think it's really useful for people to know if they can they work with you in both
online.
modalities.
No, yeah, it's all online at the moment, actually.
There we go.
Yeah, you can do this from the comfort of your own bed. I've had, it's bonkers, like this modern world. I've had people in hypnosis in India or in Ohio,
Wow.
or at the same time, like a few people all around the world. It's amazing. And yeah, it's great because you can do it. Well, your eyes are closed anyway. So you're just being guided by my voice. Yeah. So yeah, it's online.
And it's a beautiful voice. I listen to your voice and I'm like, I could totally be guided by this voice.
Do you know, I love, one part of the work I do is I see somebody and I listen to, well, I'm going to tell you the stages of the workshop in a moment. And this is also what I do with people when I first meet them. And I get them to paint a picture of who they want to be. And I just love that, right? I just like encouraging them, like kind of throwing fuel on their fire, like getting them all fired up about who they want to be. And then I'm capturing that, right? And just like taking notes, writing it all down. And then when we work together, I make them a recording, which they listen to every night for 28 days in a row, because that's how long it takes to change a belief, right? And I do it to binaural beats. So like it's a kind of not trippy, but it takes you to another state.
It takes you to the right frequency and the right place in your brain and all of that.
And I studied music. I said I was in a rock band, and I'm also in a blues band now, so I'm a singer.
And you're like all the bits. It's amazing.
I'm telling all the bits of my wacky past together. I'm like threading it all together with a needle, making this big patchwork quilt. Like I've just started my podcast last year and realized, hang on a minute, I know about music recording because I studied it at college. Like, how cool is this?
What's the name of your podcast for anyone listening?
It's called True Wealth with Betty.
True Wealth, cool. All right, awesome.
On most of your podcast provider platforms.
Another question, just for, and we'll give people like the guts of the workshop, but it's kind of, I feel like if people are still listening now, probably coming or thinking about coming,
come on,
you can do that. Links are on. They're on Eventbrite, and we'll post them in the bottom of recordings and things. And you can come to my website, message me on whatever platform if you do want to, and message Betty. Either of us can, sort that. You met Tommy Woodfin at the summit?
Breathwork man.
Yeah, I feel like you and he need to do a collaboration.
I love him. I totally loved him. He was brilliant.
He was at the retreat, the Elements retreat. It was his EFT and his breath work that was like part of the mind-blowing opening experience. But I feel like you and he need to do some soundtracks and collaboration.
Oh
I'm gonna.
I loved his
soundtrack.
I had such at your
you were lying next to each other. You all like into it big time. I mean, we both were in different ways. It's like the funny thing about breathwork is it's almost like a silent disco, because although everyone's listening to the same track, everyone's doing something different. That's what's so wild about breathwork.
It was so far out. I was having quite an experience to that, and I hadn't experienced breathwork before. I had no idea what was coming. But I've got like a long history of dancing on going to psytrance festivals, for example, where everybody is just like a week of psytrance in the desert in Portugal. And by the end of that, like you can imagine, people are just lost on the dance floor. Like just everyone's in their own little world. It's completely free. And something like his tracks that he made himself. I didn't realize he made it himself.
Oh yeah, it's all him. And the track is him, and the music and the way he mixes audio speaking into the music, and the whole thing is.
I'm like his new biggest fan. I just think he's great. Yeah.
I'm gonna voice message him after this and say, Tommy, you need to speak to Betty. Sort something out. He's very busy at the moment, and I will stand for that happening. for sure. I don't think he can come. I don't think he can come on the 17th. We tried to work it out so that he was coming. But he's traveling on the 18th, and he can't get. He needs to travel on the 17th to get where he's got to go on the 18th. So I was hoping he'd be there, but
shame. Next time. Do you want me to go through the contents of the workshop?
Yeah, I think it's useful for people just to understand. From a boring point of view, it's in my home, and there's lots of space, and there's a big garden if you haven't been. Yeah. And Joe Watkins just realised you're both live. Yes, we are, Joe. We can prove it by going, "Hey, Joe," and you can reply.
Hey, Joe.
I've seen this on LinkedIn. For people watching the recording, this is really annoying, so I'm going to stop now. So it's at my home. It's a beautiful space and super safe, and we do bring and share food. So the food is nutritious and delicious and divine. And we start from like 8:39 with the sauna lit. And so if you want a sauna before or at lunchtime or afterwards, there's space for the sauna between 9 and 10, or between lunchtime, or between 4 and 6 in the afternoon. And the main part of the day is between 10 and 4, which I will hand over to you for the.
I'm basically never going to an event again that doesn't have a sauna now. My bar has gone high.
That's Grant's fault. It's Grant's fault. I can't take credit for that.
I'm not going.
Shout out to the Dawnstalkers and Grant for parking your sauna on my drive and just letting us use it, being here. It's part of the community.
Yeah, beautiful. So, okay. So the basic structure of the workshop, I'll be really pouring fuel on your fire. That's what my primary job is, right? I'm going to be just getting everybody fired up about what they want, starting with knowing what they want. Oh, I just saw Joe's comment pop up.
I was like, there's a message, but I can't read it. And then I pressed show, and then it went there. Betty's workshop is amazing. She's awesome. Alexlouise is the most incredible host. They are completely priceless days. If you're any doubt, don't just book. Joe, I love you. That she just posted that on LinkedIn. This has never happened before. This is my podcast first on episode like 32. How cool is that? And it lets it show it on the screen. Sorry.
That's great for that. Yeah.
Excited. We're pouring fuel on all of our fires.
Yeah, getting everyone fired up.
10 o'clock, like when we formally start. So we do advise arriving from like 9 so that you have time to land before we pour proverbial fuel on your fire.
Yeah, totally. So I'm gonna get you to paint the picture of what you want, really, like, and then what. So really, like, creating space for honing the vision. And we can all hone our vision, even if you've got a vision already. Like, let's hone it a bit more, right? And then it's about finding the obstacles. Okay, so here's your vision. Now let's to start with, to get the vision, I ask you to park the doubts outside, like all the I can'ts and I shouldn't and what ifs. We just leave them outside the door, and we just create an atmosphere of anything is possible. You can have whatever you want. You've got unlimited money. You've got unlimited time. Just what would you have? And then we invite them back in. Come back in, obstacles, and limiting beliefs, and just like get them out as well onto a page. Okay, what actually is stopping me from having this as I experience it? And then I'll talk. I mean, this is basically what I do in a session of RTT as well. It's about like figuring out what the obstacle is, and then the next part is finding the root cause. So that this is like a DIY. The workshop is basically me giving as much of the tools of what I do to people so that they can DIY it. They can do it on their own. And it is different because it's going to be, unless you know hypnosis and self-hypnosis, it's going to be difficult to access that level of consciousness, but we'll create an environment so that hopefully these things will come up, and they will come up. And then just like figuring out the root cause of the obstacle, and then like as if you can, just hit my mic, sorry. Like getting a big pair of scissors and energetically slicing through the things that bind you to those beliefs from the past, separating, creating differentiation between the adult you and the child who couldn't have done any of that. Just like, okay, that was then, this is now, chop, 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 chop. And just like energetically breaking from that. Healing the relationship. I mean, look, I'm cramming it in here. I'm giving you everything I got. We're gonna heal any relationships that are holding you back by doing like a taster of something called upgrading the child, which is a hypnotic intervention that I put into, that is part of every RTT session that I learned from Marissa Peer herself, which is actually the thing I heard her doing when it was on a podcast and I heard her doing this, upgrading the child. And suddenly I was potting in the garden and my daughter was sleeping in the bed upstairs, and suddenly I was in floods of tears, just like, oh God, I didn't know this was coming. And like, just as I kind of, the idea being, you take the child out of the painful situation in the past and just say, hey, come and live here with me. I'm going to look after you. It's safe now. I've got you. And you give yourself a big hug. And honestly, I thought this stuff was a load of nonsense before I did this training. If somebody had said, like, you need to tend to your inner child, I would have, again, gone, oh God, go away. But actually, it was quite important, turned out. So you upgrade.
Turns out it's the thing.
Yeah. So
if you are resisting, just skip the bit where you resisted. Let's come and do it.
Yeah.
Whether it's with us on that when it's 17th of July, or whether it's like, please don't put it off.
Yeah. I mean, do it with someone else, please. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
Just doesn't matter where. And then I'm going to talk to you about parts therapy, which is super exciting. You know, the idea that these blocks can live in the body and they can be anywhere in the body. And hopefully we'll have time to demo some of this if people feel that they want to step forward for that, where we can just dialogue with the blockage and figure out what it's up to, like why it's there. Because it's probably got an idea about how it's keeping you safe or keeping you alive or protecting you.
That's a really important thing to underline. All of these things are trying to keep us safe.
Totally.
Just trying to keep us safe, and it's insufficient for adulthood. And it's so paradoxical that the very thing that's trying to keep us safe is hampering us and now holding us back. But it really is. It's just misguided, misplaced.
Yeah. And so I'll talk you through how to do it and hopefully demo some of it, healing the parts that are not in alignment, bringing us into alignment, and then like methods of making this familiar to wire it in. So all you have to do is make the new beliefs that will actually support you in creating the vision. You just have to make those beliefs familiar. How will it feel when you're waking up in that house, when you're paying your staff, when you're, how's that going to feel? Like, just what will you be wearing? You know, quite like day-to-day questions. You know, what are you going to be eating when you're making 10K a month? Like, open the fridge, what's inside? You know, when you wire all this stuff in, like, this is the quantum, like the idea that, it's all out there. All these different versions of you are out there in the quantum field, and we can just raise our vibration to get on the frequency of the one that you're trying to attract. So that's basically what I'll be doing. And I was going to say one other thing. It'll probably come back to me in a moment.
No, that's great. And I think it's going to be, well, we haven't had a not epic day yet. I don't think this is going to be any exception. And it's where the magic happens. And I think, just to sort of finish wrapping up, if anyone has got any questions, or anyone's listened to this and gone, oh my God, it's like the 18th of July, which is my birthday. So send me a DM and say happy birthday. And then after that, if you want support outside of this, you and I
17th, Alex.
No, but if you hear
I see what you mean. Oh, sorry, I thought you got the date wrong.
Missed it. Or after
your birthday's the day after, is it?
It's the day after. I feel like I should tell everyone, and we should have cake.
You just did, yeah.
Just fun. If people are listening to this and going, oh, I've missed it, it's like, we're humans, we're around, we do stuff. There'll be something else going on. You can you might have heard this hour and just gone, oh, I just need to work with Betty. I don't need to come to the workshop to try it out to then do it. So I think that's the thing. And if you are listening to it afterwards, just reach out and ask us or stalk us on. I hate to say social media for me because I'm really resisting social media at the moment. I put some stuff on the last week and I'm like, but my website, your website, wherever we are appearing, the magic of Google, put our names into Google, what we're up to will appear because that's how Google works.
And I'm offering 45-minute gift sessions as well, not of RTT, but like anybody is welcome. If it resonates, you're welcome to book a gift
session. This, can they just say they heard you on this podcast?
They don't even need to say that, but they can say that. Awesome. It's just available on my website, truewealthwithbetty.com.
Brilliant. Oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Which is really nice. I think that's really, I was talking to another therapist this morning, actually, at the seafront at like some ridiculously early. We're going dawn stalking as well. Grant's determined that we're going to the sea before we do our workshop. I'm like, God, I'm not sure I can handle that. I was there at like 4:45 this morning, and I was talking to
bloody hell, what time?
So sunrise is at 5 o'clock. So I was there at 4:45, and it was raining and cloudy, so there was no sunrise. So I could have gone 2 hours later. And there's something special about the light, even when it's cloudy. But I was talking to a friend of mine who's a therapist who's starting out, and I said, do you know what I think you need to do is just give people a free session. So I love that you said that. Really powerful. Like when I was a chef, I used to just give people food and say, don't take my word for it, just eat this. And you're like, that's amazing. How can I book you? So I think it's really cool when coaches and therapists offer clarity sessions. Free, just give it a go.
When I got involved with a certain coach, whose name I won't mention, who's a money coach, who was saying, it's a money block to be giving away things for free. But like I've kind of come to realise that it feels good. And
it just works because it's like, how do people try? It's just risk reversal. It's a bit of a anyway, And I think that's the other thing. We started off talking about being individuals, and everyone's got an opinion, right? Even as adults with coaches, and we're coaches, and then there's a coach going, "Oh, that's just money block." It's like we can hear that and go, "Yeah, I got that you think that." And you know what? I'm going to give a session away for free. And that right there is you've just described, like you've just lived what you've been talking about people doing. And it's like, just because someone says something doesn't mean we have to do it. You can go, yeah, that's your opinion, and I'm going to do it anyway.
And also coming back to what you were saying about knowing what we want, just knowing yourself. And when you pull out all these weeds in the garden of your mind, you're left with the flowers, the unique stuff that makes you Yes. And you can know yourself, you can see yourself, you can experience yourself as you are without the weeds.
Awesome. Betty, it's been a pleasure. I think we've done, we only went over by nearly 50%, but like considering normally it's like me and Charlie went, we'll do 3 hours. It was like 3.5 hours, and we were like, we really should wrap up. I think, 1 hour and 23 minutes. I think we're rocking it. So, it's 1 hour and 18 because we started
1 hour and 18, even better.
It's been a pleasure, and thank you.
And
thank you for anyone who has listened and got this far. We always appreciate your time and attention because time is so precious these days. So when anyone goes, "Hi, listen to your podcast," I'm like, I love you. I'm super, super grateful, and I hope you got value. And if anyone has got any questions or buts or what ifs, however seemingly silly or small, the only stupid question is the one that wasn't asked. So I beg you, please, to get in touch and ask anything that is left as a but maybe, or I want to challenge this. I would say we're both unoffendable and able to hold our own because we've done the work. So reach out to us. Book tickets. I'm guessing wherever this is, the magic Sarah Thompson has put links to Eventbrite. And again, just DM us if you can't find the links, and we'll sort you out. Betty, it's a pleasure. Everyone, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm looking forward to, is it next week? No, week and a half.
Week and a half. See you there.
Bye.
Thanks.